was featured on the covers of Financial Review magazine, Forbes, and Fortune. Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of FTX, the largest crypto exchange in the world. They had ads, they had reviews, they were sponsored by Hollywood celebrities, and it all went belly up practically overnight. And SBF is said to be hiding millions of dollars from investors. How? Well, take a look at the FTX logo. Do you see those 4 bars? You don't see 4, you just see 3? Well, that's because that's a chart and it represents the trajectory of the FTX stock price. You don't see the 4th bar because that one represents the bankruptcy of FTX. Seriously, this company went from being the hottest on the crypto market to being the Ponzi scheme of the crypto market. Scam after scam after scam. First it was BitConnect and that guy that kept shouting at the cameras. Now it's this silent, introverted dude that stole millions, if not billions of dollars from savvy investors. These weren't regular Joes he found on the street. FTX has some major shareholders and major investors. You'd think that they would be able to recognize the scam, but nope. In 2021, FTX reported revenues of $1.02 billion. After paying all expenses, this left the exchange with $388 million of net income. All of that profit gone overnight, like it never existed in the first place. And what did Sam Bankman-Fried do? He hopped on a jet and went to the Bahamas. What else would you do? Give people their money back? No, thank you. The whole thing blew up in November of 2022, and he was supposed to testify before Congress on December 13th. Did he come? He told Congress that he was, quote, quite overbooked and could only schedule the meeting over Zoom. Being very reasonable and understanding, Congress sent the FBI and brought SBF back into the US in handcuffs. You know, there's something about Congress and crooks that just makes your heart tingle. So what happened next? Well, in the USA, he was being prosecuted for 1. Money laundering, 2. Wire fraud, 3. Commodities fraud, 4. Securities fraud, and of course, 5. Illegal campaign contributions. And of course, we should mention that 3 major government agencies are involved in the prosecution of Mr. Fried. The first is smashing that like button just like you should do if you haven't done so already. Oh gosh, no, in all seriousness. The first one is the Securities and Exchange Commission. The second is the Department of Justice, and the third is the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or the CFTC. Well, that settles it. This guy ain't getting out of prison anytime soon. Speaking of which, he's currently facing a 115-year prison sentence, and we think he won't mind. I mean, he's used to living with a lot of roommates and doesn't really care about clothes, so we think he's gonna fit in just fine. After the whole fiasco, SBF agreed to do an interview with George Stephanopoulos from Good Morning America. In the interview, Stephanopoulos asked SBF whether he knew that FTX deposits were being transferred to Alameda Research. That's the company that Fried used to invest his personal money with. SBF replied, quote, "So I was vaguely aware that was how some things were being sent in the first place. So there were a lot of people who were involved in that process, and look, I really deeply wish that I had taken a lot more responsibility for understanding what the details were and what was going on there. I thought legal was involved. I knew that other groups of the company were involved, that, there were agreements drafted up." When Mr. Stephanopoulos interrupted him with the question, "But you're ultimately responsible," SBF continued, quote, "I'm ultimately, absolutely, look, I should have been on top of this and I felt really, really bad and regretful that I wasn't." The rant goes on and on, but you get the idea. What happened between FTX and Alameda Research was simple. SBF said in Bloomberg's Odd Lots podcast that he created a token, FTT, which was basically worthless. However, because he was able to convince major investors to plunge millions of dollars into that token, regular investors believed it would hold some value and they would buy it. This dude just described how a textbook Ponzi scheme worked. Well, thinking like this is what turned his empire upside down. From being called the JP Morgan of the crypto exchanges to facing a 115-year sentence. The app received billions of dollars from Silicon Valley investors, and FTX became an industry leader overnight. Concerns were raised that FTX was given preferential treatment to SBF's Alameda Research, but they told investors that the two companies were not related at all. CoinDesk published an article talking about the $14.6 billion worth of assets on Alameda's balance sheet. Caroline of Alameda Research came out and stated that these were just FTT tokens the company owned. The people smelled the BS and they ran for the hills. The first one to offload FTT tokens from their books was Binance. They started selling on November 6th, and as the price fell, Binance came back and said they'd be willing to acquire the company. After looking at the financials, something didn't add up, which is when they announced that they will not be buying FTX. On November 11th, it was revealed that the exchange was taking money from investors to smash that subscribe button, just like you should do if you haven't already. No, it's more serious than that. They were taking the money from individual investors to fund risky investments made by Alameda Research. This was a shock to the entire industry. Alameda Research was not only getting preferential treatment from FTX, but they were also tightly linked together. But for some reason, billionaire fraudster SBF didn't notice all of the money flooding his account. When the crypto market lost $152 billion in 3 days on the 4 major cryptocurrencies, and FTT lost most of its value, the collateral they used to fund the risky bets for Alameda Research plummeted. Without sufficient collateral to back them up, these risky bets toppled the house of cards that was FTX. And according to an article published by Crypto Briefing, Sam Bankman-Fried reportedly cashed out $1.5 million before being arrested, and it has everything to do with the events that followed the bankruptcy of FTX in November. One analyst noted that on December 27th, someone sent 0.66 Ethereum to a wallet that's linked to Fried. The wallet was created just before the transaction occurred, and it started with 0x7386. How do we know this wallet belongs to SBF? Well, SBF told the world about it in a tweet. In the next 5 hours, hundreds of small transactions from 12 different wallets were made to SBF's 0x7386 wallet. The total Ethereum transferred was 569.95. Digging further into this, they found out that the wallets belonged to Alameda Research. And the transaction isn't over. 519.95 of the ETH was sent to a different wallet starting in 0x64E9, a newly created wallet. For some reason, this wallet already had 800,000 of Tether crypto, or USDT. All of that USDT was sent to 4 different addresses, and then it came back to a single wallet starting with 0x4E5B. The 0x64E9 wallet still had those 519.95 ETH. They swapped a portion of those for 200,000 USDT. That money was swapped once again for 10.33 REN BTC before being bridged to REN. A second round of 200,000 USDT was transferred, and this time there were 3 wallets included, and they consolidated into OXBB3FD. This left only 310.85 ETH inside the wallet. They were sent to not 3, not 4, but 8 different wallets before all of those sent the money back to a wallet starting in 0x077D. The 50 ETH that remained on the first wallet we mentioned was sent to 0x077D. If SBF sold all this Ethereum, he would have had about $1,480,500 in crypto. Now, while these funds are being linked to SBF and the evidence points out it could have been him, we still don't know for sure. However, the one thing we do know is that FTX wasn't careful with its security. Some other person from the company could have taken the private keys of SBF's wallets and then performed the transaction. The fact that they were so cautious not to get caught and performed all of these transactions when transferring the money tells us that whoever was doing this knew how to cash out and avoid getting tracked. Check out these videos next!